This is ridiculous. You have got to be kidding me with this video. The host of OBTT 2025 has attempted, I don't know how to call this even, he has just made a video trying to update you guys on the changes that were made to the ref sheet over the week that since I've posted this, right? Because the first stage has passed and things have updated, and with feedback from the players and the refs, we have made changes to the sheet and it is more in a finalized state, so we wanted to make an update. But this man made a video so poorly, it made me cry. It is not good. It is not a good video. It is just not a good video. It's 70 minutes long, way too long. No one is watching this. I watched it twice, and I found so many mistakes that I couldn't bear it, okay? I just could not bear it to watch it a third time, even though I wanted to because his voice is really nice to listen to. I just couldn't. So I'm making this video as an update, but also re-explaining the first video because this has a lot of inaccurate stuff in it now. And I wanted to cover all of these points as well that I made that I didn't cover. So yeah, we're gonna do that. So first off, if you missed the first video, let me just quickly cover what this is about again. And this is directed to the referees, but if you're not a referee and you're still watching this, I don't know why, please leave. But if you want to watch, hello. Anyway, this tournament, this seventh iteration of OSU Belgium team tournament that now has turned into Luxembourg with Lithuania and Poland also in it, God knows why, has a new gimmick called the Jokers. And what a Joker does is it adds an extra condition or rule to the current map or match of some kind. There's lots of different Jokers, they do lots of different things. They can be picked at any point in a match, but also specifically before or after a match, a map has been picked, and there's a lot to it. There's a lot of rules to it, so we made an entire spreadsheet for it. I believe I have it open right here, and let's just cover it. Right, so this is the sheet that is public to everyone, the players and the staff, of course, and this shows all of the different Jokers, what they do, so that their descriptions, the names of them and their tiers, and when you're allowed to use them. And what is new to this sheet is the rules here, as well as some special rules. And that's basically it. This was already here as well. This is a lengthy, long-winded explanation of what the tiers are and what they're supposed to be. But the only thing you really need to take from this is when you can use them. I think that is the most important part here, and so let's briefly go over that. So you have 4 tiers. The first tier can be picked at any match, at any point. Feel free to use it. A second tier can only be used once per stage. So if you have a follow-up match, like you're in the lower bracket, and you have a follow-up match, and you want to use a second tier Joker, you can only use one across your 2 follow-up matches. That's it. A tier 3 Joker can only be used once throughout the entire tournament, and a tier 4 Joker can be used, is actually a standalone from all of the other tiers. You can use it in agreement with your opponents at the start of a match, so you're both using the 4th tier. But we'll get back to the 4th tier because it's a bit there's a lot to it, all right? And there is a lot that wasn't explained last video, and I'm gonna explain it now. But all right, let's go over the rules first, shall we? All right, rule number 1, 1 Joker per team per match. This means exactly what it means. You can only have 1 Joker per team per match. Very simple, right? Rule number 2, every team can only use 1 tier 3 Joker during the entire tournament and 1 tier 2 per bracket stage. We covered this. Next rule number 4, you cannot override a Joker with another Joker unless stated otherwise. Example, overriding a Joker in Bust a Nowhere. We'll get to that. Picking a joker on your opponent's protect is not allowed. However, picking your opponent's protect while a joker is ongoing, like Ravent and Steel, is allowed. Picking a joker on your own protect is also allowed. Okay, this is worded extremely poorly and it's missing punctuation. And it also has wrong punctuation in it, but let's not go over that. If I had to boil this down, it just means that if you are picking your protect, your opponent cannot pick a joker. Let's just simplify it to that. A joker cannot be claimed by a team. The other team can pick the same joker if they want to. This is maybe also a bit weirdly worded, but if one team decides to pick topped up for one map, the other team can also do it in another map during the same match. They can't. It's not like you cross it out if you pick it. All right. And then the last of the normal rules here. You can use a joker within the first 30 seconds of a map being picked. However, once the 30 seconds are over, no more jokers will be allowed to be picked for the sake of convenience. Okay, so this is a rule, but referees and players don't abide by it. It's more of a suggestion rather than something that you have to, like, something that they're very strict about, because, you know, people and also players and time management during matches is not something that go hand in hand a lot of the times. And not every referees aren't bots, all right? They can do their job fine, but they're not, you know, like, they're gonna mess up and players are gonna mess up, and referees will just be more lenient with it because, you know, it's a gimmick, it's something new, people aren't used to it, the referees aren't used to it, and, you know, it's just a trial and error thing, and, you know, we just want to provide more leniency. All right, that is it for the general rules. Let's hop on over to the special rules now, which are just more additional rules. I don't know why they're really called special. I originally didn't call them special rules, but you know, meta-B and stuff. So yeah. Well, anyway, the first of which is certain jokers can only be used during certain mod modifications. This will always be mentioned next to the description of said joker. This may be a bit weird because next to the description it's just a tier, but what he actually means is within the descriptions inside of brackets. Okay. So that means for this one, for 1273 classic reference, we're gonna use Nightcore instead of Double Time. This is a very, I don't know, this joker doesn't do much unless you're a really metronome player like 739. But yeah, it is mentioned in brackets. Maybe we'll change that. You know, this has, the special rules have had so many revisions. I feel like it still needs a lot more. Honestly, none of us are like English majors or anything, so we're really making them, and then people just struggle with trying to comprehend what we actually mean with them. I've noticed this a lot when going through the VODs, especially this one, where they used the Busted Nowhere. So a lot of jokers were used, and everyone was confused with the rulings everywhere. It was a shit show to watch. But with that feedback, I managed to reword some things a little bit better. Anyway, enough sidetracking. Let's go to the second rule. Double picking rules persist when using a mod changing joker. So this means if you are using a joker that changes the mod, so let's say Perru's Worst Nightmare, for example. If I can find it, there you go. That changes a nomad map to turn into hidden, and then this nomad map then counts as hidden. So if the same team that picked the map then picks hidden, then wants to pick hidden for the next turn, for their next turn, it is not allowed because it is counted as a double pick. This can be omitted if there's no maps left, of course. That is what that rule means. That is what the 2.2 also explains here a bit better. Rule number 3. During a Busted Nowhere. Okay, so this is a very special case. We'll get back to this in a bit because right now it makes no sense if I explain it. Rule number 4, for the sake of 1v1s during the top or bottom up jokers, Fremont rules will change. Both players need to have at least one of the following mods: easy, hard rock, hidden, flashlight. Multiplier remains the same, and we're missing again a punctuation. Metabe is really good at doing that. But yeah, that means top and bottom up. They change the format from 2v2 to 1v1 with top or bottom seeds, and the Fremont rules change a bit there because the rules on the forum post require a team to have a minimum of 2 mods for either hidden hard rock, easy, or flashlight, with hidden hard rock counting as hard rock, but that turns from 2 of those mods to 1, and that's what need to be clarified. It really should be clarified within these, but we instead opted to make a special rule for it and also to mention it somewhere in the settings here for the referees to watch, to look at. All right, that is it for this. We'll now dive a little bit deeper into how to use the ref sheet and what this 4th tier joker means, and we'll then come back to these rules as well. All right, here we are again on the referee sheet, breaching a little bit more of integrity by revealing how this all works, but it's now in a more final state than it was before. We're not gonna be tweaking any more of the features and stuff. We may reword things a little bit different, but yeah, we'll see how that goes. Anyway, if I zoom in a bit, we'll see it a bit better. All right. So here on the left, we have all of our 28 jokers. We have the tiers next to that, and we have their restrictions. So we saw that in this page as well. This is literally the same as these things here, just, listed a bit easier to understand. Next to that, we have when it is allowed. So this was actually not mentioned anywhere, so it was really confusing. So the solution to that first was putting it in a blob of text in the special rules, and that was very hard to read and understand. So I instead opted to just list it next to every joker. Like, that makes way more sense. Then we have the descriptions, like this public for everyone, and then we have the instructions, which is the addition that I originally wanted to put into this sheet, which is the reason why I started to even work with, started to cook on this sheet. And then next to that, we have additional rules, additional effects, conditions that apply when a busted nowhere is used. And I'm again just gonna say we're gonna get back to this later, because if I explain it now, it makes little sense. And next to that, we have the roll list for both Redraw and Busted Nowhere. Redraw draws from the first 22. Busted Nowhere draws from basically all of them, all the 26 available jokers for that. It doesn't include Redraw and Busted Nowhere itself, and it also doesn't include Know You and Guardian Angel, because they mess with the bans and protects. Next to that is just a testing. So this is what we use to write the instructions, and this is a bit more technical. You can skip this. So how we wrote the instructions was basically a long string of text, and every new line is a comma. So if you want a new line, you just put a comma. And then we put some conditional formatting on top of that, saying that if the last character of that string before the comma is a colon, then highlight it. And that is how we made the instruction list very neatly and compactly into one single string. All right, next we'll look at the referee sheet. So here we are on the scheduling sheet, where all of the initials are put in for the referee's sheets to fetch. So like I said, the first round has already been passed. All of the matches have been finished. We don't input every single little thing in this sheet because we don't actually use sheets to display times on like a public sheet like you would do normally. We were using a website from Helix. He's the GOAT. He makes a beautiful site, and it's a lot easier to manage for the hosts, and we're very grateful that we get to use it. But we still need a referee sheet, of course, to be able to handle the refereeing, right? Anyway, let's just go to a random ID, the 9th one, for example, which is a match against even Pokemon, and Auto Fister, whatever that implies. Here we are. You have to start off the match, of course, by putting in the MP link. First but second pick protects, bans, and then you just go on with your match like you would do normally. Whoa, that's weird. Fixed. I have to look at that if that's across every single. Okay, all right. So I see something to fix. All right. So this sheet is very wide because of the jokers. You don't have to look at everything. Something like this, you don't really need to see if you're used to it. You don't even need to see these two columns really, because all of those commands are put into there anyway. But here, no big additions have been made. I think little fixes, and things like inputting the Joker data on the match rundown. I mean, before the match rundown is put in here as well as voided stuff. But we don't use voided stuff. The stuff that is hidden here, we're not going to use it, so you can just keep it closed. But what is more important here for this video is the jokers. So let's get into that. Starting off with just an observation how it is constructed here. At the very top here, we see 3 joker tabs. Joker for the red team and the blue team, and an extra tab as well. Then at the very top left, we see a toggle that we can change to show either Joker 1 or Joker 2. This means we actually have 2 Joker slots per Joker tab. And this doesn't mean that they're allowed to use 2 Jokers, but there is special cases where that is needed. That's why I included it here. All right. Then at the bottom here, we see Joker extension tab. So I needed a way for certain jokers to input more data and to have a display of which tiers are available, and that kind of stuff. I wanted that in there, so I added this extension tab that helps you with certain things, and is also required to use for Redraw and a bust and nowhere, and I think some other ones as well. Let's see, Chronoshift, Guardian Angel, and that's it. So those are all the jokers that really require this extra tab. So the instructions will always mention that you need to use it, and if you need to use it, this output field is gonna tell you to input something into the input field, and once you input that something, it's gonna say, hey, you did a great job, you can move on now. And if you input the wrong thing, it'll also give you error correction for that. Then underneath that, we have miscellaneous, and here we have the tiers check. So this is something I worked on yesterday. I finished it at 5 in the morning. It is a rather complicated thing that checks whether a team is allowed to use a tier. So like we went over these rules, right? When you are allowed to use a tier and not. This sheet will actually use a list of all the used jokers to determine, to derive whether a team is allowed to use a certain joker or not. So if it has a check mark, the team that is requesting a certain joker would be allowed or not allowed to use it. You can check that in this thing. It's very handy. It updates very slowly, I will say that. So just keep that in mind. I put a little note here as well stating that. All right, and then underneath that is two irrelevant things that you really don't need to look at, so I grayed them out. One is the score alter, which is deprecated. We don't use it, but basically, if you input red here, it adds a 1 over here, and this will add to the score over here. But there is no joker that utilizes it right now. There was in the past, but I removed that function. And then underneath that is the data. So this is all of the joker data. There's 2 slots of them, one for the red team, one for the blue team, and then that gets put into this cell over here, into the joker data. So this combines all of that data from the jokers, and then, you know, let's follow the flow a bit more. It comes in here with an indirect formula, so it fetches that data here per ID, and then we can roll out that data like so, and then we can sort it, we can summarize it, and we can, you know, do some checking like I've showed you with the thing underneath, miscellaneous. And that's how that all works. But you really only need to look at this for one particular joker, which is Jester box. And we'll get to that as we are now going to look through every joker. All right, so this video is gonna get extremely long, so maybe I'll go through the effort of timestamping every joker. So if you are in doubt of the instructions and you want some clarification in video, you could scroll. You could go to the timestamp of that certain joker, and you'll have me explaining it. But I'm not sure, you know, if that'll benefit anything. But okay, we'll go through all the jokers now. First one being Hippo Cup. Hippo Cup adds, changes the current pick to version 1. And for this first one, we'll look at the general structure of the instructions, because that is interesting. But before that, you know, you pick Hippo Cup, you get to see which tier it is. Allowed usage up to 30 seconds after a map has been picked. Like I've said before, this is more a suggestive guideline, you know, the 30 seconds thing. But what you need to get out of this is that it can be picked before or after a map has been picked. Then underneath the description that you don't really need to look at during the match, and then the instructions. The instructions always have state where it has an effect on, what commands you need to use, and it'll always have a copy pasta you have to copy paste into the chat to let everyone know what's going on. We're missing punctuation on every single copy paste. Deal with that. If you want a period after this, you put it there yourself, you know? All right. And then we scroll down, we see here that Joker 1 does not require additional input here. All right. And we've given the sheet a while now, and it has actually updated the checklist. So we are not allowed to pick any more tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or tier 4 at this point. We can't do it anymore because the match has commenced and the joker has been picked. So you're not allowed to use anymore. That's what the tier says. And you see it gives a dash sometimes when it's updating and when it's doing its thing. It's a really finicky thing, and I don't really know how to optimize it in sheets. So, you know, it's sometimes just gonna show a dash because it doesn't have any data. You can kind of force it by updating the sheet yourself. By doing that, you know, it'll cycle quicker for some reason, but I'm not gonna note that anywhere. Just if it's not showing anything, just give it some time. All right, the next joker, Tech Tourney, changes the score mode to accuracy for the current map. Let's go gambling. Doesn't have anything more than a copy paste that says roll 6 twice to randomize what map needs to be picked. This is gonna go poorly. This will go poorly in the later stages of a match because there's only so many maps left. So the exact ruling on how the roll should work, or maybe there is only 2 maps left and you're just gonna tell your players to just say use roll 2 and we'll decide on a map that way. Up to you. Let's go gambling. Russian Roulette. So Russian Roulette, you roll a 6 and then you have to change to a preset that is put in here for you. All right. But before you do that, it is actually based on top and bottom seed. So in every copy pasta here, there is the top seed has to go with this mod and the bottom seed has to go with that mod. And how do you know what the top and bottom seeds are? Because it's not this, all right? This doesn't represent top and bottom seeds, so it literally tells you change all players drop down to all players seeds. This is the all players drop down. It's not mentioned in here where it is, so that may confuse people, but it's right here, and then all player seeds, and then you get to see who's the top, who's the bottom. This is mentioned in quite a couple of jokers, I think 6 or 7. All right, next we have bottoms up and tops up, which essentially do the same thing, just it creates a 1v1 that makes either the top seed players stay or the bottom seed players stay, and then also additional free mod rules that get added to there. All right, next to that is a magic number. A magic number is essentially a coin flip. The players will have to aim for a team score where the first 3 digits of the score, so the score till 1000 essentially, those first 3 digits have to match the rolled number. And this is the hardest one to explain, the one that is probably discussed one of the most, because I was very against it, because it's essentially just a coin flip if it's the first 3 digits. But alright, that's the coin flip one. 1273, we already looked at. It just changed double time to Nightcore, can only be used on the current double time pick. Brain damage turns the current pick into tag co-op. That's always a fun one. Follow the down train, CJ. This one is fun. So this one requires really meticulous team play, more so than just trying to get a best score. The top seeded player must get at least 300k, and the bottom seed player needs to keep up with their teammate as close as possible. So yeah, it's very interesting because Score V2 is also dynamic. It doesn't stick to a certain score once you hit it. It goes down if you don't play. So it's an interesting joker. Right, next up we have Redraw, and Redraw just draws out of the first 22 jokers, and this one is the first one that utilizes the extra tab here. If we look at it, the effect is on now. Referee rolls 22. After that, the roll's output correlates to a unique 1 or 2 joker. View the joker extension tab below. Follow the instructions from the output field. And if I can add something to that, this one actually overrides the rule that makes you only be able to pick 1 tier 2 joker per stage. So if you say you pick a tier 2 joker on one match and you have a follow-up match the next one, and you pick Redraw, which is a tier 1 joker, and it rolls on a tier 2 because the 22 first jokers include the tier 2 jokers, then that is allowed. So there you go, that's how you omit that rule. But it's of course a 50-50 because there is 11 tier 1s and 11 tier 2s. All right. So let's do that. Please input the roll result in the above cell. So let's say they roll 13. There you go. It's rabbit and steel, and we can look it up in the extra tab, which is the same thing that this says. do not use the Joker 2 slot, use the extra tab. And we want to do that because we don't want to list a tier 2 Joker as being picked. So if we were to do that, if we pick Rabbit and Steel here, it'll add Rabbit and Steel, which is a tier 2, to the data, and this data will then, push that to this checklist, and if we then have a follow-up match, it'll say that a tier 2 is not allowed, because the checklist looked and saw that in the same stage a tier 2 was already used, and you dismiss that over that omitting the tier 2 Joker thing rule. So yeah, we do not want to input it in there. We want to input Rabbit and Steel over here, and we also don't want to assign it because that's gonna do the same thing as putting it in the Joker 2 tab. All right, that's Redraw. I hope it's easy to use. Also, if the Joker is inapplicable, so if you draw, for example, 1, 2, 7, 3, which is a Joker that only works on double time, and if the current pick is Nomad, then it is inapplicable, and the roll will be voided, and you can re-roll it once, and then you just input that new number in here, and there you go. All right, next Joker, Mimicry. Mimicry is a fun one. It makes it so the same mods that used for previous picks are used on the current pick. The only exception to that is double time. So if the previous pick was double time, then it will not work. It's not allowed to be used. If it is free mod, then the same mods that were used in the free mod need to be used. All right, next mod, next Joker, is Magic Mirror. Magic Mirror, let's see what it does. Works only on free mod, and it makes overmodding allowed. So it makes hidden Heart Rock count as both hidden and Heart Rock. That's really the only thing it does. The next one is Rabbit and Steel. Rabbit and Steel is a fun one. It makes it so the cumulative misses across the next 2 picks, the team with the least amount of cumulative misses across the next 2 picks gets the point, which is an interesting one. This can be used very well. I've seen it being used in a very good manner. All right, the next pick is Balance in All Things, which changes the multiplier, which adds a multiplier to the top and bottom seats for the next pick. All right, the next one is How Does Anyone Even Read This? And it forces easy on the current map. That's really all it does. It says what if the pick is free mod and what if the pick is not free mod. There's 2 different copy pastas here you can use. I think this is the only one that has conditional copy pastas. So there is not a global copy pasta you can use here. It's different. All right. The next one, Live Hostage Situation, and this one is a really funny one. The players can decide to replace the bottom seeded player of their team with someone that is currently commentating the match. This of course only works if the match is being streamed and if there are commentators and if they are available to play at all. But it's a really funny one. All right, the next one is Coffee Break. Coffee Break will turn Nomad into Heart Rock with double picking rules being persisted. And then the next to that you have Perru's, which is the same one but with hidden. So it turns Nomad into hidden. Then we have Yoink. Yoink is an interesting one. Yoink actually has the ability to give an additional joker. So what it does here is the players, the bottom seeded players, swap places for swap teams, I mean, and then they have to get above 300k to get an award. That is kind of standalone. That is not really affecting the point. So the point will still go to the team with the most score, but the bottom seeded player with the most score will get a scaling reward. And that reward is if it's above 300k, 500k, 700k, and 900k. And they all include Magic Mirror. Starting from the 300k, they will get Magic Mirror on the next free mod pick, and we saw that Magic Mirror simply just gives the addition that Hidden Heart Rock counts as both Hidden and Heart Rock, so you can have someone go Nomad and someone go Hidden Heart Rock. The next one is the same, but you also can penalize one other opponent on the next pick that doesn't need to be free mod with Easy Hidden or Heart Rock. The next is the same, but you can penalize both of your opponents with a modifier on the next map, and they can be different as well. And then the last one is literally all of the above, so they get Magic Mirror and they can penalize both. They can penalize both teammates, but they also can reuse a tier 1 joker that they've used in the past. And to make that work, they're gonna request in chat a joker, and you are gonna need to look at the jokes tab, go look them up by team is the easiest way to do it, and then look at what that joker was, and then there you go. You go from there. I'll add tiers next to here as well, so you can check. You can easily find back which tier 1s they've used. And once they've done that, you can look up that joker that they request in here, in the extra tab. Let's say they used bottom up and they want to use it again. You put it there. You don't have to assign it. It tells you to not assign it, so don't assign it, because it adds this joker to here, and we don't want that because it's not really necessary. All right, that was Yoink. Let's go to the next one. I think Yoink is the last of the tier. No, there's Jester's box as well. Jester's box is an interesting one. Alright, Jester's box, the last of the tier 2s. Let's go over it completely because we want to know it fully. So on the current pick, if the victory is 3 or more points away, you copy paste this message and you start a 10-minute timer locally on your phone, on wherever. I've included a stopwatch on this sheet as well. You can use it if you want, you don't have to use it. What this basically does is it takes the current time and then compares the difference here, and you can update it by fiddling with this checkbox. And you can reset it by reselecting the current time. So there is a stopwatch on this sheet, but I doubt it's a handy thing to use. Just use your phone. You know, you have a phone, right? Just open your phone and then just use it, right? Just use the stopwatch. You know how to use a stopwatch. You've used it before. Just use it. All right. Within those 10 minutes, they need to complete 3 maps. And if they complete 3 maps, you give them this copy pasta that says, "Grats, you finished all 3 maps within the time frame. You may reuse a tier 1 for the next pick. You can put a mod penalty on, and you can put a mod penalty on your opponent. Hidden Heart Rock easy. However, if the pick is double time, then Heart Rock is not allowed." So this is basically the same as the Joker we saw before this. So it's, yeah. And it gives you some more instructions if that occurred. So use the joke steps to look up the joker, input the allowed, and request the tier 1 joker in the extra tab. Follow the instructions for that joker. Go to the joker extension tab at the bottom under asynchronous joker assigning. Assign the joker to that team. This I'm gonna remove because it essentially is not needed to assign it, because it's the same reasoning as the previous joker. It's just gonna add one more joker to this list of jokers, but without any real benefit to anything. So I'm just gonna leave it out. You don't have to do it. I'm gonna change that later. Yeah, all right. And then if they don't complete 3 maps within those 10 minutes, then it says womp womp, you failed to complete 3 maps in 10 minutes. For the next pick, the other team can put a mod penalty on one opponent with hidden Hard Rock Easy. However, if the pick is double time, then Hard Rock is not allowed. And they don't get to reuse a tier 1 joker. Alright, so that is that. That is it for the tier 2s. Let's hop in the tier 3s. First of which is Know You and Guardian Angel. Know You basically changes what the ban is of your opponent. So say they ban Nomad 1, then you can roll, you can use roll and then the pool size. So the pool size here is, I actually don't know, I don't want to count, so I'm just going to count this, okay, it's 18 maps. So you do roll 18 and then whatever that map lands on, which is not including tiebreaker, I guess, because that's not a bannable map, that will be their new ban. It, however, needs to be re-rolled if a max of 5 times, because it's a tier 3, we want to give some extra agency. If it lands on the same map, it needs to be re-rolled. If it lands on another banned map, so from your team or there, if it lands on a protected map, and you know, this is kind of how that works. Like we saw, the first roll is Nomad 1, the second roll Nomad 2, and so on. If the team has, and I guess I should add it to it, if the team has 2 bands, you can decide which band you want to roll. That is not stated anywhere, but I will state it somewhere. And after use of the roll map becomes a new band, do not use the void checkbox in column LM. Very specifically, don't use this. You may think that that is how this should work, but nope, don't use it. Do not use it. Right, Guardian Angel gives you 1 extra protect. We can go very quickly over that. You can just use the second protect slot. However, if the stage is Grand Finals, we know that there are already 2 protects. So we want to give it a 3rd protect, but where do you input that? Well, we can input that into the Joker extension tab. For some reason, it is not showing that we need to do anything, which is wrong. That's why, I know why, because the stage is not Grand Finals. All right, if it were to be Grand Finals, it'll ask you to add the mod slot over here, and then we can see in the jokes tab, we can see that appear. There you go, Guardian Angel Edition Nomad 1, that's their new protect. That's their additional 3rd protect, which will also, I'm not sure if that will list in here. I may have to double check. All right, that is it for Guardian Angel. Right, the next one is Witch Hunt. This one adds sudden death to a opponent of your choosing. If of course they fail, then they don't get any score at all. So yeah, it's very powerful mod. A joker, I mean. Chronoshift is a very, very interesting one. If they pick this, they can go to the spreadsheet of all the past map pools for OBTT. This also includes BOC, but those are not counted. And they can choose whatever they want as long as it is in the same mod pool. So say the current pick is double time 1 was picked, then this joker gets picked because it needs to be picked after a map has been picked. It literally says that there. And then if you pick this joker, then you can choose any okay, the pick was double time, this joker gets picked, and they can pick whatever they want out of any OBTT pool that is double time. So any double time map they want, they can pick from this pool to replace this map. And then the only thing you need to input into the sheet, into the input tab, is the ID. So it'll ask you input a requested map ID. Let's say this is the map they want to replace it with. You input it there, and then it says, yay, that's all. All right, that is that. It's a very powerful one, very interesting one. The next tier 3 is, we looked at which one, right? Broken Mirror. Broken Mirror works on any non-double time pick. One team of your choosing must play the next map with Hidden Hard Rock. Not applicable on double time. Yeah, I mean, it literally does that. Not much to add to there. BlackWolf, very interesting. I want to see this being picked. It can replace any map that is currently picked after it has been picked with the big black. That's why it also says you have summoned Zabigu Baraku, may its wrath have mercy, and then you change the map to that. And any modifiers that are used for the map that has been picked have to be applied to this pick. So if double time 1 was picked and then this joker BlackWolf was called upon, you know, you'll get to play big black with double time. Very yeah, a shit show. And that is it for all of the tier 1, 2, and 3 jokers. We'll now go over a Bust of Nowhere. Alright, a Bust of Nowhere is not inputted in here directly. It is instead inputted over here. A Bust of Nowhere for both teams. This is not written anywhere. I'm not expecting anyone to do that intuitively. But that is how I want it to happen. And then it also has to be assigned to both teams. All right, let's see what it does. A Bust of Nowhere, and we'll just read it. Causes a random joker to take effect before the start of a map for every map going forward. This joker will affect both you and your opponents. This can cause any single joker except Guardian Angel. Okay, we saw that some jokers cannot be rolled, as I've explained earlier. Alright. The problem with this joker is that we need to add extra rules to that, because if the joker needs to apply on both teams equally, we need to mention that somewhere. So that's why we have this extra column here that says if it has an extra effect or nothing. And then also we have another issue that says, you know, after every map, this will get rolled. So the referee rolls roll 27 after every map. But some jokers can only be used after a map has been picked. So what do? You omit that rule, basically, and you kind of restyle it. And that is doable for most maps, but it gets messy with Chronoshift. Because Chronoshift requires a specific mod pool to be selected. And if there is no mod selected, then, you know, we have some problems. So we had so much text to add to this that we just said just put it in a special rule. So instead of adding additional effects and rules and conditions to that, we just refer to special rule 3, which brings us back to what I was yapping about earlier, which is these two rules here. So during a bust and nowhere, if Chronoshift gets rolled, both teams gets to pick a map within 30 seconds. Within a 30-second time frame, the referee then rolls roll 2 to decide which of the two maps get picked. If a team doesn't manage to pick a map in time, the other team's map automatically gets picked. Otherwise, the Joker becomes void, and we're once again missing a punctuation because Metaby hates them. All right, and then I added myself to this a second point that is, in this case, the same mod pool as picked map rule is omitted due to the Joker being rolled before the map has been picked. So teams may pick any mod pool apart from double time. I mean, apart from tiebreaker. All right. Now, where is this displayed? Very simply, if we go back in here into 9, this likes to move around sometimes. Say we roll a 1. We will get in the output field, the Joker you rolled is Hippo Cup, and then the extra additional rule we'll add at the very bottom. It just says note, no additional effect. If we pick 6, it'll say topped up. Let's try to roll one that has an additional effect. Magic Mirror. Alright, and the extra note says reroll if not free mod. So Magic Mirror is a Joker that only takes effect on free mod. And if the map is not free mod, you can re-roll it. You can re-roll the Joker, I mean. Alright, where do you look it up now? Because both extra slots are occupied, but we don't have to assign these Jokers to these teams. And here is where you have to, again, hopefully intuitively know that you can just look up anywhere what the instructions may be for Magic Mirror, for example. Over here, Magic Mirror. Right, this is the instructions. And there you go. That's how you look it up. And then after this map has ended, you just remove it, roll again, and then input the new Joker it rolled. It tells you very specifically as well to ignore Joker extension tab for the rolled Joker. So say if you roll on a Joker that utilizes the bottom Joker extension tab, then you can just ignore it. You don't have to input anything because you're going to have to remove the Joker anyway. The same rolls are allowed, so if it rolls 2 times on the same thing, that can happen, it is allowed. Reroll the Joker if not applicable. We saw it with this one. It's Magic Mirror, but the pick is no mod, so just re-roll it. The problem with this is that it can only Magic Mirror is a Joker that is used after a map has been picked. So again, we have this kind of gray area where the teams are still allowed to pick any map, and if it happens to be a free mod one, then this Joker applies. But if they pick a different non-free mod pick, then the referee has to re-roll the Bust of Nowhere Joker, because it's simply not applicable anymore. And that may be not intuitive to the referees, and that is kind of hard to explain as well. I don't really know where to put it. Metabeast too clueless, and Sandwich, where is he? We don't even know. He's making videos 60 minutes long, being clueless. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to explain that. So hopefully people will understand it. I'm sure that no one is watching this, by the way. If anyone is still watching this, I'm very impressed. You can pat yourself on the back. All right. And then the last thing that notes here, requested Jokers override the rolled Joker. So say if Magic Mirror gets rolled over here, Magic Mirror, and the red team decides that, hey, we want to pick Tech Tourney, then Magic Mirror will be dismissed, and Tech Tourney will take on the current Joker. All right. And then you have to, of course, keep Tech Tourney in here, and then use this slot to roll through all of these jokers. But you can also use any other available slot. You'll never really run out of slots, so that is all fine. All right. That is it. That is the entirety of this video. I've been recording for an hour on the dot. Holy shit. I took some breaks here and there. I don't think the final recording will be an hour. But okay. Everything is explained. Everything should be clear. If I see anyone with any problems, please blame it on MetaB. Please do. Okay. I hope there is no more update videos to this. Please. I hope.